it's not quite in general form, and it's not quite in graphing form. So we need to do some algebraic manipulation to put them into the proper form. So here we have to factor that compression factor out. Okay, that compression factor of 2 that needs to be factored out. So we're going to factor that out, and it's going to end up looking like this. 2 factored out, it becomes 2 squared outside, and then we end up with x minus 4 squared. Okay, here we factor out the 3. So 3 squared on the outside becomes 9, and end up with y plus 4. Okay, so there's my horizontal shift plus 4, my vertical shift down 4. Okay, I need to put it into graphing form, so I'm going to divide. So I end up with 4 over 12 is 1 over 3, and 9 over 12 becomes 3 over 4, and that's equal to 1. So this is an ellipse. Okay, we know that, so we can see that a times b is positive. So this is an ellipse. The center is going to be at 4 to the right, 4 up, so 4, 4. There's my center. 4, negative 4 is my center, isn't it? Down 4. So it's at 4, negative 4 is my center. My a and b values, I need to make sure I calculate those. So my a value is square root 3, approximately 1.73. My b value is going to be the square root of this reciprocal, so it's going to be 2 over square root 3. Okay, so then there's my, that's approximately equal to about probably about 1.2. Okay, so my b value about 1.2. It's just a really tiny ellipse here. And then along the along the x, it's a little bit bigger. It's going to be 1.7 along the x. Kind of zooming in. This is my ellipse then. Going to be looking like this. So we need to make sure we can identify the center. Okay, the center. I'll make sure that we clearly mark the center here. So there's my center. And for the ellipse, we need our a and b values, and that's essentially it for the ellipse. Okay, so this one here, well, it's not in graphing form either. However, this is a perfect square, this is a perfect square. Well, that's really quite nice because I know that my graphing forms require the perfect square. So I just need to rewrite it in its squared form. So this is going to be x plus 3 squared minus 2 bracket y minus 2 squared equals negative 18. Well, this is easy. I've got it in my graphing form essentially. So this becomes x plus 3 squared over 18 minus y minus 2. 2 over 18 simplifies to 1 over 9. That's equal to negative 1. And this is a hyperbola. Okay, the trans is y. Okay. My center is going to be at negative 3, positive 2. Okay, so I better mark that down. Negative 3, positive 2. Negative 3, positive 2, somewhere around here. There's my center. My a and b values. Okay, my a value is going to be the square root of 18, so it's going to be 3 root 2. So that's just about 4, let's say just slightly bigger than 4, let's say 4.2. Okay, and then the b value is equal to 3. Okay, so then showing my along the y, I go up 3, down 3, so this is going to be down about to here, up here. I'm going to actually label those coordinates because that's actually my center. So negative 3 is going to be positive 5, negative 3, negative 1. Okay, so those are my center points, or sorry, my vertex points. This is going to be to the left about 4 point something, so about here. Okay, yeah, this is going to be a little bit further, I think. So it's maybe more like about here and here. Okay, those are going to be my x-axis stretches. Just sketch in my little rectangular box here and mark out my corners. Okay, because those corners are what then determine my asymptotes. So once I've got those corners and asymptotes, I can actually draw my graph in. There's my graph here, my graph here. It can go like this and like that. Okay, so those are that's my graph based on this. Now, this is my b value, so that's the distance from the center. I can find my slope and actually write the equation of that line. The slope is equal to the b over a, okay, rise over run. This simplifies to 1 over root 2, okay, and then my equation of my line becomes y equals 1 over root 2 x minus x plus 3 minus 2. And this one becomes y equals negative 1 over root 2 x plus 3 minus 2. Okay, now we can actually put it into that form here, and we can actually mimic this form, because remember this is the center. We can actually mimic this form and write the equation like this: y minus 2 is equal to x plus 3, like that. Okay, and that would be actually equivalent. And that actually reflects what we're seeing here, because they both, the line and the hyperbola, involve that middle point. Okay, so lastly, well, this one's not in graphing form, so I have no idea how I can graph it. I have to really be able to put this into graphing form. So how can I put this into graphing form? Well, I recall we had the similar issue with parabolas. And to put it into graphing form with parabolas, I needed to make a perfect square factor like this. Well, I know how to do that. I know how to make perfect square factors by completing the square. So maybe I'll try that. So x squared minus 4x plus, and I need to complete the square here. So I'm going to complete the square with a plus 4. Now there's a bit of a problem here in that I just added 4 to this equation. I've got to balance it off. I need to balance it off with a minus 4. And that would be okay. So I'm going to do minus 4. Okay, so that's okay. So that's balanced. Here's my perfect square. Then I have plus y squared plus 6y. And again, I need to, if I want it, I can, this is just like a quadratic. I can, well, it is a quadratic. I can complete the square with this plus 9. But I need a minus 9. Because I can't just add 9 to the equation. I got to make sure it's balanced. So minus 9. And then that's equal to, or minus 3 equals 0. Well, I think I can put this in graphing form then, because I have x minus 2 squared, that's perfectly fine, plus y plus 3 squared. Okay, and then if I group all my terms together, minus 4, this is minus 16 equals 0. Well, this is just a circle with radius 4. And the center is going to be at 2, negative 3. Well, I can draw this. This is fairly easy to do. I go 2 to the right, 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3. There's my center. It's got a radius of 4, so I go up 4, left 4, right 4, down 4. There it is. I've got my center at 2, -3. My radius is 4, and I can just sketch my circle in. There it is. So how was I able to do this? I went from this kind of mess to, well, I grouped the terms and I created this perfect square, which allows me to see the shifts. Here I grouped all this, made it a perfect square, which allowed me to see shifts. The leftover pieces of balancing helped me define the radius. So there it is. There's my circle. It's a circle centered at 2, -3 with a radius of 4. So this is something that maybe we need to look at a little bit more later. How do we go from the general form to a graphing form? Okay, and that's what we're going to do next.